Hey everybody, happy Monday. Hopefully your day is starting out all right and nothing crazy has happened yet other than what's already crazy. Um, so I decided to bring a STEM activity to you all every day. Some days it'll be like today where it's a live video. Some days it'll just be a post with instructions and maybe some pictures. But that way you can kind of have an easy activity that you know will happen every day. And so I'll try to post in the morning what it's going to be that day for you all. So make sure if you read what it says above, make sure you say hi. Make sure go ahead and comment with something that you do to help relieve some stress. So this is a very stressful time for everybody. And so comment with what do you do to relieve some stress. So something that I do, right, is I'll drink some tea or I'll do some yoga, or like this morning I worked out just to kind of get that stress level down a little bit more. So go ahead and comment with what you do and say hi. So today I'm going to give people just a few minutes to jump on, but as I'm doing that, I'm going to kind of show you the materials that you're going to need. So I posted it earlier, but the materials that you're going to need in case you didn't see it, you're going to need paper. I would say about 10 to 15 sheets of paper. It could be more, it could be less. It's kind of up to you. That's just usually the number that I use when I do this activity with students. You're going to need some kind of tape. It could be whatever tape you want. So I have masking tape. You can use Scotch tape if you only have duct tape, if you only have painter's tape. You don't need a whole lot of tape either, so you're just going to need some tape. And then something that I did not mention in my post earlier, but that you're going to want, is you're going to want some books. Doesn't matter what the books are. Doesn't really even matter in the size of the books. But you're definitely going to want some books because that's part of this activity. So basically what this activity is about is it's kind of about construction and it's about buildings. And so we know how to make buildings stronger with materials, right? Using steel, using concrete, all of that stuff. This takes away the strength of the materials and focuses on the shapes of buildings. And so this is kind of an activity that I like to do to look at the strength of different shapes. Hi, hey everybody. Thanks for jumping on. So what you're going to do first is you're going to actually create 3 different shapes. So you're going to need 3 different pieces of paper. Hey! The first shape that you're going to make is just going to be a cylinder with your paper. So it's super easy. It's up to you how thick or wide you want your cylinder to be. Okay? But once you have that cylinder, you're just going to take a piece of your tape. This is why I like masking tape, because it's super easy to break. And you're just going to tape the center of it right here. Okay? Very, very easy. Simple. You've got a cylinder. If you want to do a little bit more tape, you can. You don't need a lot of it. Okay? So then the next one that you're going to be doing is going to be a triangle or pyramid and a rectangle. You're going to make these the same way, where you're going to fold the paper in half. And I know you're probably thinking, like, why do I need all these shapes? What's going on? This is what we're going to use for the activity. I'm actually going to do an activity on here with you, and then there'll be an extension that if you want to do that after this live, you can. Okay? So I folded it in half. I opened it up, and then I folded one side in, and then I'm going to fold the other side in as well. Okay? I'm going to set this down really quick just so I can get it so it looks good. Okay? So you should end up with your paper in quarters, right? So if you're doing math today too, right? You've got 4 quarters. All right. So what you're going to do is you want to do that twice, okay? Because you're going to make one of them into a pyramid and one of them into a rectangle. So I'm going to do that same thing again where I fold it in half. Open it up, fold in half again. Again, I'm going to set it down just because that way I get some clean lines here. Okay. And again, okay, here. So again, you have your paper in 2 quarters. Okay, so you have 4 quarters. So one of these, like I said, we're going to do into a pyramid / triangle. The other into a rectangle. So let me get my piece of tape going here first. My tape will cooperate. And I only ripped that much off because I want to be able to have a couple pieces ready for you all. Okay, so to make the pyramid, it's super, super easy, right? You fold your paper in like that, okay, so that 2 of those sides overlap, and then you're going to tape right on the edge here where that flap is. Okay, so you end up with that pyramid shape. And I always overlap my tape on the edge like that. Okay, so again, we have our cylinder shape, right? We have our pyramid shape. We need one more shape, and that's going to be our rectangle. So it's the same thing as your pyramid, except for you're not overlapping this time. You are just meeting those edges together so that you can tape up here. Okay, so this is takes a little bit more of a steady hand to get it taped on there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but let me get this on. Okay, so you can see I have it taped on there. So I'm going to add just another piece of tape to each one of these, especially just to that last one. So it's up to you, and hopefully that'll kind of let you catch up. So again, we have 3 shapes going on here. So the goal is we're going to actually look at the strength of these shapes. And we're going to see which shape is the strongest, why it's the strongest, and maybe how we can strengthen the other shapes. And then I'm going to leave you, like I said, with an extension activity that you can do with those other sheets of paper that hopefully you have. And again, you can do this. I'm just using regular computer paper. You can use construction paper, you can use newspaper, you could probably use pages of magazines. You just don't want it to be like a cardstock. Okay, and then here I'm just going to reinforce with tape on both ends of the pyramid as well. So you can see I've got just 3 pieces of tape, 3 pieces of tape here. Okay, and then I'm going to add 2 more pieces to my cylinder as well. Alright, so honestly that's the longest part of this, is kind of walking through how to create those shapes. It seems intuitive, but especially if there's some kids watching, I wanted to make sure to do that because I always walk my students through those shapes. So you've got 3 shapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually test the strength of the shapes. And how you're going to do that is with a book. So it could be any book. I suggest it be some kind of a hardcover, just because the floppy covers tend to flop over and just don't work as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to choose a shape to start with. Okay? So I'm going to choose the rectangle to start with. And you're just going to put the book on top of your rectangle to see what happens. Okay? So you can kind of see it buckled. And if you look, it kind of buckles right here. It wasn't very sturdy. The tape kind of ripped. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing with my pyramid or triangle. Okay. So again, I didn't want to let the book fall, so it makes like this big sound. But again, you can see, right, it kind of buckles again right here. You can see near those edges. And now our cylinder. No buckling. Okay. So let's look at why. Why would the cylinder not buckle when your rectangle and your pyramid did buckle? Like, what is the biggest difference between these shapes? Okay. Well, the answer to that is edges. Okay. So your cylinder does not have any edges, but if you look at your rectangle, it has 1, 2, 3, it has 4 edges. Your pyramid or triangle has 3 edges, okay? Those edges are weak spots, okay? And so weak spots, edges where something comes together, right? And that weak spot, it can't, right? It doesn't have as much strength to hold things up. So, right, if you look at your cylinder, there's no edge, right? There's nowhere for it to really buckle. There's no weak spot in this. Oh, good. I'm so glad, Brandy. I'm so glad. I hope this is useful. So, what we can do, right? So we know the cylinder is strong. You want to think about, okay, you see use of rectangles, and you see use, of rectangles and triangles in buildings, right? So they use them. It's not like they can't use them. It's not like we only see cylinders everywhere. It's just not practical. So that's where you think about, okay, how can we strengthen these two shapes? How can we take away those weak edges? So one of the things, and usually I ask these questions and kind of let students think about it, but since I'm on a live, I don't have tons of time to let you think here, right? But one of the things that we can do, and I'm going to add one more piece of tape since my tape ripped over here, so give me a second, is, right, add these things together. You want to add supports to this. So a great way to add support is to actually combine these two shapes together, where if you have both of them inside of each other, right, that's going to support some of those weak edges, okay? And so then if you add the book on top, right, it still falls, but not as bad. So you've now supported those weak edges. Even better, you can take a cylinder, you can take a cylinder, right, and put it inside of there, okay, to support those weak edges even more, right? So, you can take the cylinder and combine it with your, mine's not quite small enough, but combine it with your pyramid or triangle shape as well, okay? So those are the three main shapes. Obviously there's more to use than that, right? But those are the three main shapes to use, keeping in mind our strongest one is that cylinder. So you might be wondering why I've used 3 shapes and I said to have 10 to 15 sheets of paper. Well, that's the extension activity. And so I don't want to do that on here because I don't want to give you, I want you to come up with your own ideas. I want your students to come up with their own ideas because there's so many possible ways to do this next part. And that's what I love about it, is there's no wrong way. What you're going to do is you're going to use those 10 to 15 sheets of paper. You have to use at least one of each of these shapes. And you want to build what I call a structure, okay? But a structure is a very loose term. That structure could be, you know, putting 2 of these things, 4 of them side by side. It could be laying it down, right? Taping stuff together like that. What you want this structure to do is you want it to be able to hold as many books as possible. Now, if you don't have a lot of books, what you can do is you can find a really heavy book, like a cookbook is really good for this, and have it, see how long it can hold that cookbook for a minimum of 10 seconds. I have had students that have had stacks and stacks of these books on top of their structures. So again, keep in mind when you're doing this, right? What's our strongest shape? The cylinder. How can we use each of these, right, at least once? You can duplicate whichever ones you want to build some kind of a structure with those other sheets of paper, okay, to support as many books as possible. What I want you to do too is when you finish this, please take a picture. Please take a picture and post below so everybody can see this, because I know some people will be looking afterwards. And, you know, I just want to see all your awesome ideas. And I have some amazing ideas already. So if you're stuck, I can message you some of those ideas. But again, there's not one right way. And I want you to be able to be creative. That's a huge part of this, is be creative, right? Solve the problem. Keep going, keep persevering. If you try it once and it doesn't work, don't give up. Try something else, okay? Remember the reinforcements. Don't use too much tape. Tape is not always a good supporter, but think of how you can combine the shapes together to protect those weak spots, okay? I will be coming again every day with some kind of STEM activity. It may not always be alive, but I will do my best to make them all alive. thank you all for jumping on. I hope this has helped. Yay, good. Let me know, Brandy, how it goes, please. And if you need any other information about this activity, or if you need some websites even for reading science stuff, I have tons of websites that are all at different levels. Please reach out to me. I know this is not an easy time for everybody, and I know not everybody can provide all of these things just on their own. So you're welcome. Thank you for jumping on. Please share. Please, whoever you think could use this. And I appreciate you all, and I will see you tomorrow.